Let me tell you, Stephen Crane's 1893 novella Maggie, A Girl of the Streets is a real gut punch. I mean, it's a story so bleak, so totally unflinching in how it looks at poverty and despair that Crane actually had to publish it himself at first. So today we're going to dive deep into this classic piece of American literature, and we're not just here to revisit a sad story, but to really understand the brutal, powerful philosophy that drives the whole thing.
So, this is how it all starts. Not with Maggie, our main character, but with her brother Jimmy. In the middle of this savage, almost ritualistic street fight, Crane doesn't ease you in at all. He just drops you, bang, right into the violent, chaotic world of the New York Bowery. And what this does, right from the very first sentence, is it tells you who the real villain of the story is. And here's a hint. It's not a person. It's the place itself, the street, the slum, the entire environment.
Okay, so to really get Maggie, you have to wrap your head around this concept, naturalism. It's a whole philosophy, really. It basically says that human beings aren't in the driver's seat of their own lives. Instead, we're just products of our environment and our genes, kind of tossed around by these huge forces we can't possibly control. So in a story like this, there are no real choices, just reactions. Free will? Total illusion. And this is so key. Crane isn't just writing a tearjerker. He's running an experiment. He's asking, what happens if you take one fragile, hopeful soul and drop her into an environment that's designed to crush her?
All right, so let's explore that environment. Because Crane doesn't treat the Bowery like it's just some background scenery. No way. He treats it like it's a living, breathing character. And honestly, it's a predator. It shapes everyone, hardens them, and in the end, it just consumes them. This isn't just a setting, it's a force of nature. Man, when you read Crane's descriptions, it is a full-on assault on your senses. He paints this world with pure grime and noise. And just listen to the words he uses. Gruesome doorways, frantic quarrels, people in postures of submission. This is not the vibrant, bustling New York City you see in the movies. This is an oppressive, chaotic machine that's just constantly grinding people down. It's a world that smells like 1,000 different meals clashing together and looks like a mess of laundry and sounds like an argument that never, ever ends.
And here is the very first thing that this machine spits out. After that fight in the beginning, little Jimmy doesn't look like a hurt kid. No, he looks like a tiny, insane demon. Think about that phrase. He is the perfect product of room alley. The violence of the street is already stamped onto his face, it's already in his soul. From day one, he learns that the only way to survive is to be brutal. He is exactly what this world was built to create.
You know, if the streets are a brutal training ground, then home, well, home is the forge where that brutality gets perfected. You'd think their apartment would be a refuge, right? A safe place? Wrong. The Johnson family's home is just an even more concentrated, more intense version of the borough's chaos. There's no safety here, just more violence.
So just try to imagine this homecoming. Jimmy is bleeding from his fight, his dad's dragging him home, not really caring, and what's waiting for them? Not comfort, not a hug. They find a rampant mother. I mean, that word rampant, it's perfect. It makes her sound like a wild animal, something totally out of control. This is the kid's idea of domestic life, just this furious, heaving ball of anger waiting for them.
And this isn't a one-time thing. It's a predictable, terrifying cycle, night after night. The parents get drunk, they have these lurid altercations, and the place gets trashed. But you know what the most haunting detail is? It's what the kids do. They just huddle in a corner, staring at their mother's face while she's passed out, because they know that the second she wakes up, all the fiends would come from below. For them, their own mother is the monster under the bed.
Okay, now here's where we get to the absolute core of the tragedy. Jimmy and Maggie, they grow up in the exact same environment, this mud puddle, as Crane calls it. Jimmy, well, he adapts. He becomes tough, like leather. He's mean, aggressive. He becomes what the street wants him to be. But Maggie, she's different. Crane says she blossomed. She somehow holds on to this fragile beauty, this innocence. And you'd think that's a good thing, right? Well, in the world of naturalism, that very quality, her inability to become hard and dirty like everyone else, is exactly what seals her fate.
So, into this grim, hopeless world walks this glimmer of hope. Or at least what Maggie thinks is hope. His name is Pete. He's a bartender, a friend of her brother's. And for Maggie, he isn't just a guy. Oh no, he's an escape route. He's a symbol of a whole other world, a world with elegance and power way beyond the grime of her street.
Just look at how she sees this guy. She's not seeing some swaggering tough from the Bowery. She sees a knight. She sees his cheap, shiny shoes and thinks they're like weapons. His job pouring drinks is elegant. His disrespect for the rules, she sees that as strength. She is projecting all of her desperate dreams onto this one person. He is everything her life isn't, and in her mind, he's the fantasy of rescue made real.
And then he opens his mouth. And the contrast is just immediate and devastating. Maggie's knight is really just a cruder, more boastful version of her own brother, bragging about bar fights. And here's the kicker. Pete isn't an escape from her world at all. He is a perfect product of her world, just maybe with a slightly cleaner shirt. Maggie is pinning all her hopes on the very thing she's trying to run away from.
You know, there's this one little detail in the book that is just so heartbreaking. A lambrequin. It's basically a little decorative cloth you'd hang over a shelf. Maggie spends her tiny salary and her precious time to make this one little beautiful thing, this flowered cretonne lambrequin, to try and make her ugly little home just a tiny bit nicer. It's the physical form of all her hope. It's her desperate attempt to bring a little bit of beauty into her reality.
And how does her environment respond to this little act of hope? With casual, drunken violence. Her mother comes home in a rage and just destroys it, rips it down without a second thought. And that one single act is a perfect metaphor for the entire book. Any small, fragile attempt at beauty, the blossom, it will always, inevitably, be torn down and left in a bedraggled heap by the brutal world around it, the mud puddle. There's just no room for pretty things in Rum Alley.
So Maggie makes her decision. She goes with Pete, she finally makes her bid for escape, and it does not lead to a better life. Instead, it triggers her final, absolute condemnation by the very family and society she was trying to leave behind. This, right here, is the story's brutal climax.
This is her mother's reaction. The same mother whose drunken violence created the hell Maggie was fleeing from. Now she gets to stand there and pass moral judgment. I mean, the hypocrisy is just staggering. There's no concern, no love, just this violent, holier-than-thou rage as she physically throws her own daughter out. That door slams shut, and it's not just on the apartment. It's on Maggie's entire life up to that point.
And Jimmy's reaction is just fascinating. You'd think he'd be mad about his sister's ruin, right? But he's not. His anger is all about Pete betraying their friendship. He was my friend! In the messed up moral code of the Bowery, the bond between two guys is way more important than a sister's well-being. It just shows you how completely warped the values of this world really are.
And the judgment doesn't stop with the family. Oh no. It spreads like wildfire. The neighbors, the same people living the same miserable lives, they immediately turn on Maggie. They start rewriting history, saying, oh, we always knew she was bad. This isn't just gossip. This is the community closing ranks, sacrificing one of their own so they can feel a little bit better about themselves. By condemning Maggie, they get to feel righteous for a minute.
And then her mother delivers the final word. This isn't just an angry outburst. Listen to it. It sounds like a formal biblical curse. She condemns her own daughter to eat dirt and sleep in the gutter, to literally become one with the filth she was born into. It is a chilling, absolute, final damnation. There's no coming back from that.
So when you put all of these pieces together, you start to see that Maggie's tragedy, well, it wasn't about bad luck and it wasn't about making poor choices. Within the cold, hard logic of naturalism, it was absolutely, crushingly inevitable.
Think of it like a funnel. At each stage of her life, Maggie's options get narrower and narrower. She's born into a brutal world. Her family makes that brutality even worse. Her only hope for escape turns out to be a total illusion that just leads her deeper into the trap. And when she follows that illusion, her one attempt to get out is met with this final condemnation that leaves her with absolutely nothing. Each step follows the last. There was just never another way this could have ended.
And this brings us right back to Crane's central metaphor. You can't plant a delicate flower in toxic sludge and expect it to survive. Maggie's innocence, her hope, her desire for something beautiful. In her world, these weren't strengths. They were fatal weaknesses. The grime of Rum Alley was always, always going to swallow the blossom. Her destruction wasn't just a possibility. In the world Crane created, it was a law of nature. And that leaves us with one final lingering thought. Crane's story is, for sure, a product of its time, a shocking look at the slums of the 19th century. But that core question of naturalism, man, it is still so powerful. It makes you wonder, what are the determining environments of our own time? What are the social, the economic, the cultural mud puddles that exist today, trapping people in these cycles of despair? And maybe the most important question of all is, who are the Maggies still out there, trying against all odds to blossom in them?